Laughter echoed through the bridal suite as I adjusted my veil one last time. The morning sun painted everything in a golden glow, making this moment feel magical. "I'm Sarah, and this was supposed to be the happiest day of my life." "Sarah, you look stunning," my best friend Jenny squealed, helping me smooth out the delicate lace on my dress. The other bridesmaids nodded in agreement, their matching blue dresses creating a beautiful scene in the mirror behind me. The suite buzzed with excitement, hairspray, perfume, and champagne creating that perfect wedding day atmosphere. Everything felt like a dream come true. The venue, a beautiful historic mansion with sprawling gardens, was exactly what I'd always imagined for my special day. "The flowers just arrived, Amy," my sister announced as she walked in with a massive bouquet of white roses and peonies. "And Michael's already here. He's nervous, but so excited," her words made my heart flutter. After 2 years of dating and a beautiful engagement, I was finally marrying the man I loved. The door opened again, but this time the energy in the room shifted. Patricia, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, stood there in her expensive gray dress, her lips curved into what seemed like a smile but didn't quite reach her eyes. "Sarah, dear," she said, her voice sickly sweet. "We need to talk about the seating arrangement." Again, the way she emphasized again made my stomach twist slightly. "We'd already discussed this 3 times this week." Jenny squeezed my hand supportively. "Mrs. Walker, we've already finalized everything. The coordinator has it all under control." Patricia's perfectly manicured hand waved dismissively. "This won't take long. I just think it's inappropriate to have Sarah's cousin Thomas at the main table, given his background." My heart sank. Thomas had struggled with addiction years ago but had been clean for 5 years now. He was like a brother to me, and this felt like a deliberate jab. "He's family," I said firmly, trying to keep my voice steady. "And it's already arranged." Patricia's face tightened, but before she could respond, my mom burst into the room, her face glowing with excitement. "Sarah, honey, the photographer's ready for the pre-ceremony shots." The tension broke, momentarily at least. As I gathered my dress to leave the suite, I caught Patricia typing furiously on her phone. Something about her expression made me uneasy, but I pushed the feeling aside. This was my wedding day, and nothing was going to spoil it. In the garden, the photographer positioned us among the roses. The bridesmaids laughed and posed, their blue dresses catching the morning light perfectly. Everything looked like a fairy tale, the white chairs lined up on the lawn, the flower arch where Michael and I would say our vows, and the soft music already playing in the background. "Beautiful," the photographer called out, snapping away. "Now, let's get some shots with the groom's mother." Patricia stepped forward, placing her arm around my waist. Her grip was just a little too tight, her smile just a little too forced. "We're going to be one big happy family now," she whispered, but something in her tone made my skin crawl. I smiled for the camera, ignoring the growing knot in my stomach. The perfect day I'd planned was about to take an unexpected turn, and I had no idea just how dramatically my life was about to change. "Sarah," Patricia's voice cut through the chatter again. "Could you come here for a moment? There's something else we need to discuss." She stood near the garden entrance, her face serious. I heard my phone buzz in Jenny's purse as I walked toward her. It was a message from Michael. "Mom's upset about something. Please be patient with her today." If only I knew then what was about to unfold, I might have run in the opposite direction. But instead, I straightened my back, fixed my smile, and walked toward Patricia, determined to keep the peace on my wedding day. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a story that would change everything. "Sarah, dear," Patricia's voice was honey sweet as she led me away from the cameras and watching eyes. "Let's have a proper chat. Just us girls." She guided me toward a quiet corner of the garden, where rose bushes provided privacy from the rest of the wedding party. I smoothed my dress, trying to stay calm despite the warning bells ringing in my head. "Is everything okay, Patricia?" Her smile dropped the moment we were alone. "No, Sarah, everything is not okay. Do you think I don't see what you're doing?" Her eyes narrowed, scanning my face like she was searching for something. "I'm not sure what you mean," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Oh, please," she scoffed, adjusting her designer shawl. "The way you've arranged this wedding, pushing my suggestions aside, placing your family front and center, even that tasteless cousin of yours at the main table. It's like you're deliberately trying to embarrass us." I felt heat rising to my cheeks. "Patricia, this is Michael's and my wedding. We made these decisions together." Together, she laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. "My son would never choose such common arrangements. This all screams of your family's influence. Those tacky centerpieces, that generic music playlist, those centerpieces," I interrupted, finally letting some steel enter my voice, "were handmade by Michael's grandmother. Your mother." Patricia's face flushed red. "Don't you dare speak to me about my mother? You think because Michael gave you a ring, you suddenly understand our family? You have no idea about class, about tradition." I noticed some guests starting to look our way. Jenny was watching from near the photo area, her concern visible even from this distance. I think we should rejoin the others, I said, trying to diffuse the situation. The ceremony starts in an hour. Don't walk away from me when I'm speaking to you. Patricia grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging in slightly. You may have fooled Michael with your sweet, innocent act, but I see right through you. You're nothing but a gold digger, using my son to climb the social ladder. The accusation hit me like a slap. That's not true, I whispered, feeling tears threatening to form. I love Michael. This isn't about money or status. Mom? Sarah Michael's voice cut through the tension. He was walking toward us, looking handsome in his tuxedo but wearing a worried expression. Everything okay here? Patricia's transformation was instant. Tears welled up in her eyes as she turned to her son. Oh, Michael. I was just trying to have a heart-to-heart with Sarah, to welcome her to the family properly, and her voice broke dramatically. She said the most horrible things about our family, about our traditions. What I stared at her in disbelief. That's not what happened at all. Michael looked between us, confusion clear on his face. Sarah? What's going on? She called me a controlling witch. Patricia was full on crying now, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face, said I had no right to be involved in the wedding at all, that our family's traditions were outdated and embarrassing. I never said any of that, I protested, feeling the situation spiral out of control. More guests were gathering now, drawn by the commotion. Michael's expression hardened as he looked at me. Sarah, why would you say those things to my mother? Today of all days. But I could hear the desperation in my voice. Michael, she's twisting everything. She's the one who. Are you calling my mother a liar? His voice was cold now, different from anything I'd ever heard from him before. Patricia pressed her advantage, clutching Michael's arm. I just wanted to be part of this special day, to share our family's traditions. But she broke into fresh sobs. The watching crowd had grown larger. I could see my parents pushing through, trying to reach us. Jenny was already halfway across the garden, her face fierce with concern. Michael, please, I reached for his hand. You know me. You know I wouldn't. I thought I knew you, he cut me off, his voice hard. But maybe Mom was right about you all along. Those words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. The perfect day was crumbling around me, and I stood there in my beautiful white dress, feeling more alone than ever. The scene was set for a confrontation that would change everything, and there was no going back now. The silence that followed Michael's words felt endless. Around us, wedding guests whispered and stared, while Patricia continued her performance, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. How dare you? My voice came out stronger than I expected, surprising even myself. After everything we've built together, you'd believe these lies without even hearing my side. Michael's jaw tightened. My mother has no reason to lie, Sarah. But you, he glanced at Thomas, my cousin, who was watching from the crowd. Your family has a history of causing problems. That hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt my hands shaking, but I refused to let them see me break. My family? My family welcomed you with open arms. They helped plan this wedding, supported us, and loved you like their own. Love, Patricia scoffed, her tears miraculously gone. Is that what you call it? Forcing your way into our lives, trying to change Michael, turning him against me. Jenny finally reached us, placing herself protectively at my side. Mrs. Walker, I think you need to step back and stay out of this, Michael snapped at her. Then he turned to me, his face twisted with an anger I'd never seen before. You know what? Mom tried to warn me about you months ago, about how you and your family would never fit in with us. I should have listened. The crowd gasped. I saw my mother's face crumple in pain, and my father's hands balling into fists, but it was Thomas who stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. That's enough, Michael. Do you want to talk about family history? Let's talk about how your mother treated your last fiancé, or the one before that. Patricia's face went white. How dare you bring that up, you? What? Recovering addict, Thomas smiled grimly. At least I own my mistakes. At least I changed. Michael moved so fast I barely saw it coming. He grabbed my bouquet from my hands and threw it to the ground, crushing the flowers under his foot. This wedding is over. I won't let you and your trashy family embarrass us anymore. The collective gasp from the guests was deafening. Jenny's arm went around my shoulders, steadying me. But I didn't need it. Something inside me had shifted, hardened. You're right about one thing, Michael, I said. My voice crystal clear in the stunned silence. This wedding is over. But not because you're calling it off. Because I am. I reached up and removed my veil, letting it fall to the ground beside the crushed flowers. I deserve better than a man who'd humiliate me at my wedding. Better than a family that breeds such cruelty. Sarah, don't be dramatic, Patricia started, but I cut her off with a look that made her step back. I have the receipts for everything my family paid for this wedding, I continued, my voice steady. You'll be receiving them tomorrow, along with a bill for my dress, which your son just ruined. I suggest you pay them promptly unless you want everyone here to know exactly how much you needed our trashy money to put this wedding together." Michael's face flushed red. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," I turned to the gathered guests, my head held high. "I'm sorry you all came out here today. The reception hall is paid for until midnight. Please, enjoy the food and drinks. Consider it my parting gift." As I walked away, Jenny at my side and Thomas following close behind, I heard Patricia's shrill voice, "Michael, are you going to let her speak to us this way? Do something." But I didn't stop to hear what he might do. I'd already given that family enough of my time, my love, and my trust. As I reached the bridal suite to gather my things, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from Michael's cousin Amy. "I have videos of everything. And there's more you need to know. Meet me tomorrow." I showed the message to Jenny, who smiled grimly. Looks like the perfect wedding day might turn into the perfect revenge. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, my ruined dress, my smudged makeup, my straight spine, and my dry eyes, I knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The hotel room felt too quiet the morning after what should have been my wedding night. Sunlight crept through the curtains I hadn't bothered to close, and my phone kept buzzing with messages I wasn't ready to read. "You need to eat something," Jenny said, setting down a coffee and bagel beside my bed. She'd stayed with me all night, sleeping on the small couch by the window. "And you should see some of these social media posts. People are on your side, Sarah." I sat up slowly, my eyes falling on my ruined wedding dress hanging on the closet door. I still can't believe it happened. Any of it. "Sarah," Jenny hesitated, checking her phone again. "Amy's downstairs? Michael's cousin? She says she needs to talk to you. She has information." Before I could respond, my phone started ringing. Michael's name flashed on the screen. Jenny reached to decline it, but I stopped her. "No. I want to hear what he has to say." Taking a deep breath, I answered and put it on speaker. "What do you want, Michael?" His voice came through shaky, different from yesterday's anger. "Sarah, baby, we need to talk." "Mom." She told me everything. The truth. "I'm so sorry." Jenny and I exchanged looks. "The truth about what?" "Mom's been lying. Not just yesterday, but about everything. The family business, the inheritance, all of it." He paused, and I heard him take a shuddering breath. "She's been embezzling money for years. Using my name. That's why she needed this wedding to happen. Your family's connection to the bank. She needed the merger to cover her tracks." My head spun. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying she used us. Both of us. And when she realized you were smarter than she thought, that you might figure it out, she had to stop the wedding." "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. Should have trusted you." The door knocked softly. Amy had come up. Jenny let her in, and she rushed over to the phone, her face pale. "Tell her the rest," Michael, Amy demanded. "Tell her about the other brides." My heart stopped. "Other brides. 3 of them," Amy said when Michael stayed silent. "All in the last 5 years. Each time, Aunt Patricia found a reason to cause a scene, to break it up. Each time, the family of the bride had some sort of financial connection she needed. And each time, large sums of money disappeared during the chaos." I felt sick. "And you knew about this, Michael?" "No, I swear, Sarah, I just found out." "Mom. She's been using my signature, my accounts. I've been blind, so stupid. But I have proof now. Bank statements, documents, everything. I'm going to the police, but I needed you to know first. I need you to forgive me." Jenny scoffed, but I held up my hand. Years of working at the bank had taught me to listen for what wasn't being said. "You're not going to the police, are you, Michael?" I said quietly. "You're calling to warn me, because if I go to the police, you'll go down with her. Those weren't just her signatures on those documents, were they?" The silence on the other end was deafening. "That's what I thought." I looked at Amy, who nodded grimly. "Send me everything you have, Amy. Every document, every video, every piece of evidence." "Sarah, please," Michael's voice cracked. "We can fix this. Start over. I love you." "No, Michael. You love yourself. And that's going to cost you everything." I ended the call, my hands steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. Jenny and Amy watched me, waiting. "What are you going to do?" Jenny asked softly. I stood up, finally ready to face the day. "First, I'm going to eat that bagel. Then we're going to my office. Because if Patricia wants to play with bank records, she's about to learn she messed with the wrong family." Amy pulled out a USB drive from her purse. "Everything's here. The videos from yesterday, old bank statements, and copies of forged documents. She never thought I'd keep records, but after what she did to my sister." "Your sister?" Jenny and I asked simultaneously. Amy's face hardened. "The first bride. My sister wasn't just a bride who got away. After the wedding fell apart, she tried to expose Patricia. 3 days later, she was in a car accident. Nothing was ever proven, but the implications sent chills down my spine. This wasn't just about a ruined wedding anymore. This was about justice, about stopping something dark before it could happen again. Call your sister, I told Amy. Tell her it's time. We're going to need every victim, every witness. And Jenny? Call my father. His friends at the FBI might want to hear about this. As I finally reached for the bagel, my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Let's talk, dear. Just us girls. For Michael's sake. I showed it to Jenny and Amy, who both looked worried. She's scared, I said, feeling stronger by the minute. She should be. Because Patricia didn't just ruin my wedding. She gave me a reason to tear down everything she'd built, and I was just getting started. The bank's weekend security guard raised an eyebrow as I walked in, still wearing yesterday's makeup and casual clothes instead of my usual business suit. Roberts? Didn't expect to see you today. What with the change of plans? Joe, I managed a small smile. Need to handle some urgent business. Jenny and Amy followed me through the quiet office to my desk. Being a financial crimes investigator had its perks like weekend access and a computer system that could trace transactions better than any personal laptop. Okay, I said, logging in. Amy, plug in that USB. Let's see what we're dealing with. As files populated my screen, Jenny gasped. Sarah, look at these amounts. The transfers. They're all just under the reporting threshold. Classic structuring, I nodded, my investigator instincts kicking in. She knew exactly what she was doing. See how they're spread out? 3 days apart, different accounts, but always ending up in the same offshore shell company. Amy leaned closer. That's the company my sister mentioned. Before the accident. My fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up transaction histories. There's a pattern. Look, large transfers right before each failed wedding, then smaller amounts trickling back over the next few months. She wasn't just stealing from the bride's family, she was using the weddings as cover for larger movements. Sarah, Jenny's voice was urgent. Your phone's blowing up. 3 missed calls from Patricia. 5 from Michael. And 1 text message that made my blood run cold. I hope you're not at work, dear. Those files are private family matters. We wouldn't want anything happening to your career over a little peek at confidential information. She's threatening you, Jenny growled. No, I smiled grimly. She's confessing. Amy, call your sister. Now. While Amy stepped away to make the call, I pulled up more records. Jenny, remember last Christmas? When Patricia insisted on hosting that charity gala? The one where half the city's bankers showed up? Yeah, why? Look at these donations, I pointed to the screen. Every guest made exactly the same contribution, but the tax records show different amounts. She wasn't just stealing from families, she was running a full-scale money laundering operation through fake charity events. Amy returned, her face pale but determined. My sister's on her way. She's bringing everything she saved from 5 years ago, and she's not coming alone. What do you mean? The other brides. They stayed in touch. They've been waiting for someone to finally stand up to Patricia. They want to help. My phone buzzed again. Michael, this time Mom's losing it, Sarah. She's destroying documents. Please, can we talk? I'll tell you everything. Perfect timing, I muttered, pulling up the security camera feeds from the Walker family office. Being their bank's primary investigator had its advantages. Look who's having a weekend paper shredding party. The grainy footage showed Patricia frantically feeding documents into a shredder while Michael paced behind her. Their desperation was clear even through the poor video quality. Send that footage to your secure email, Jenny advised. They'll try to wipe it soon. Already done. And I typed a few more commands. Every transaction they make from now on will be flagged. They're not moving another dollar without us knowing. A knock on the office door made us all jump. Joe, the security guard, stood there with 2 women I'd never seen before. Sorry to interrupt, MS. Roberts, but these ladies insist they know you. Something about a wedding. The taller woman stepped forward, her face haunted but determined. I'm Claire, Amy's sister, and this is Rebecca. She was supposed to marry Michael 2 years ago. We hear you're finally going to take Patricia down. I looked at these women, survivors of Patricia's previous schemes, and felt something click into place. We weren't just gathering evidence anymore. We were building an army. Welcome to the team, I said, turning my computer screen to show them. Let's talk about how Patricia Walker tried to destroy all our lives and how we're going to make sure she never hurts another family again. As Claire and Rebecca pulled up chairs, sharing details that made each previous scheme clearer, my phone lit up with one final message from Patricia. You have no idea what you're getting into, little girl. Some fights aren't worth the cost. I showed the message to the group. Jenny squeezed my shoulder. Amy nodded grimly. Claire and Rebecca exchanged knowing looks. That's where you're wrong, Patricia, I whispered, forwarding the threat to my secure email. This fight is worth everything. Because with each passing minute, each new piece of evidence, we were building something stronger than Patricia's lies. We were building the truth. And the truth, as they say, will set you free or, in Patricia's case, send her to prison. Sunday morning, my apartment had turned into a war room. 6 women, countless coffee cups, and evidence spread across every surface. Claire and Rebecca had brought their own files, years of collecting proof that seemed incomplete on its own but created a devastating picture when combined. Look at this. Claire spread out bank statements on my coffee table. Every wedding was scheduled exactly 3 months after a major charity event. It wasn't random. Jenny, who'd been typing everything into a timeline, looked up. The timing matches those offshore transfers Sarah found. She was using the weddings to cover her tracks. My phone buzzed again, another call from Michael. I'd stopped answering but kept every desperate voicemail. Each one was more revealing than the last. "Sarah, please. Mom's saying crazy things. She's threatening to pin everything on me. I don't know what to do." Rebecca shook her head. Same old Michael. He tried that victim act with me too. Always playing both sides. Speaking of both sides, Amy pulled out her phone. Look what just got posted to the family business page. We crowded around to see a perfectly staged photo of Patricia and Michael, both looking solemn. The caption read, "In light of recent family events, Walker Industries is announcing an internal audit. We maintain our commitment to transparency and integrity." Transparency, Jenny scoffed. That's rich. No, I smiled. That's desperate. They're trying to get ahead of the story. Amy, when's the next board meeting? Tomorrow morning. All major shareholders will be there. I stood up, moving to my whiteboard where we'd mapped out Patricia's network. Then that's our deadline. Rebecca, you said you still have friends in local news. She nodded, already pulling out her phone. They've been dying for a story on the Walkers for years. Just needed solid proof. They'll have it, Claire added. Every document, every transaction, every threat. My landline rang, the one number Patricia didn't have. It was my father. "Sarah? My FBI contact is very interested in what you found. But honey, you need to be careful. People like Patricia, they don't go down easily." "I know, Dad. That's why we're not giving her any wiggle room." I looked at the women around me, each one a survivor of Patricia's schemes. "We're doing this right." After I hung up, Amy spoke softly. "She's already calling her high-powered friends. I saw her contact list. Judges, politicians. Let her," I said firmly. "Because while she's doing that," I pulled out a fresh piece of paper. "We're going to write a letter to every single charity she's ever worked with, every donor, every board member." Jenny caught on immediately. "A warning. About the fraud." "Exactly. But we're not sending it yet." First, I turned to Claire. "How good are you at getting Patricia angry? Angry enough to confess?" Claire's smile was sharp. "You want me to crash her damage control brunch today? The one she's hosting for close family friends to explain her side of the wedding disaster." "Better," Rebecca chimed in. "We'll all go. Every single bride she tried to destroy." My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Mom's losing it. She's talking about leaving the country. Please, can we meet? Just us." "Perfect," I showed them the message. "He's our way in. I'll tell him I'll meet him at the brunch. Alone." "Sarah, no," Jenny protested. "It's too dangerous." "It's too perfect," I corrected her. "Patricia wants to control the narrative. Let's see how she handles it when all her lies come crashing down at once. In front of everyone she's trying to fool." Amy started gathering the documents. "I'll make copies. Lots of copies. And I'll call my camera crew," Rebecca added. "They can be ready in an hour." I looked at my ruined wedding dress, still hanging in the corner. No more white dresses or innocent brides for Patricia to destroy. Today we're showing up in black. The room buzzed with energy as everyone moved into action. Claire and Rebecca coordinating with the press. Amy organizing documents. Jenny setting up secure email drops for all the evidence. My phone buzzed one final time. "Patricia, I heard you're meeting Michael." "Smart girl. Finally seeing reason. Let's put this unfortunate incident behind us." I showed the group the message, and Claire laughed. "Oh, she has no idea what's coming." "No," I agreed, picking up my car keys. "She doesn't. But she's about to learn that the little girl she tried to destroy, we grew up, and we've been taking notes." Because Patricia had spent years perfecting her schemes, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd left too many survivors. And now we weren't just looking for revenge. We were looking for justice. "Ladies," I said, grabbing my bag. "Let's go crash a brunch." The brunch venue looked exactly like Patricia's, expensive, pristine, and fake. I adjusted my black dress, feeling the weight of the documents in my purse. Around me, Claire, Rebecca, and Amy stood ready, each wearing their version of funeral attire. We weren't mourning, we were here for justice. "Remember," I whispered, "let her make the first move. She always does." Through the restaurant's windows, I could see Patricia holding court at a large table, Michael beside her like a puppet on strings. The close family friends she'd gathered looked exactly as I expected: wealthy, influential, and completely unaware of who Patricia was. "Sarah," Michael spotted me first, his face paling. "What are you? Who are they?" Patricia turned, her practiced smile freezing as she recognized Claire and Rebecca. What is the meaning of this? Hello, Patricia. Claire stepped forward. It's been 5 years since you destroyed my wedding, and Rebecca's was 2 years ago? We thought it was time for a reunion. The other guests started whispering, looking between us with growing interest. Patricia's smile became strained. I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. Michael, escort these women out. Actually, I opened my purse. I think your guests might be interested in these. I pulled out the bank statements, the charity records, and the evidence of years of fraud, especially since many of them are listed as donors to your fake charities. Patricia's face contorted. How dare you? These are private family matters. Private. Rebecca laughed coldly. Like how you privately threatened each of us, privately stole from our families, privately arranged accidents when people got too close to the truth. The whispers grew louder. Michael stood frozen, looking between his mother and me. It's all lies, Patricia announced, but her voice shook. Michael, tell them. But Michael was staring at the documents I'd spread on the table. Mom, these are my signatures. But I never. Of course you did, Patricia snapped. You signed everything I put in front of you, just like a good son should. The silence that followed her outburst was deafening. She'd just confessed, in front of everyone, to forging her son's signature. I have copies for everyone, Amy announced, pulling out more files, including the federal investigators who should be arriving any minute. Patricia's mask finally cracked completely. You ungrateful little brats. Do you know who I am? What I can do to you? We know exactly who you are, I said calmly. That's why we're here. No more brides, Patricia. No more schemes. No more victims. The sound of sirens in the distance made Patricia's face go white. The truth was finally catching up to her, and there was nowhere left to run. The perfect brunch was over, but justice was just beginning. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of legal meetings, police interviews, and media chaos. I sat in my lawyer's office, watching Patricia's empire crumble on every news channel. Another victim has come forward, Jenny announced, showing me her phone. This time from 8 years ago. Patricia didn't just target brides, she ruined entire families. My lawyer, MS. Rodriguez, spread more documents across her desk. The evidence is overwhelming. Tax fraud, embezzlement, money laundering through fake charities. And that's just the financial crimes. What about the threats? Claire asked. She'd become a constant presence during our legal battles, her case finally getting the attention it deserved. The accidents that happened to people who spoke up, being investigated separately, MS. Rodriguez confirmed. The FBI is particularly interested in the pattern of convenient tragedies around Patricia's schemes. My phone buzzed. Michael again. His messages had become increasingly desperate as more evidence emerged. Sarah, please. They're freezing all our accounts. Mom's lawyers quit. I don't know what to do. I showed the message to Jenny, who scoffed. He's still trying to play victim? After everything? Before I could respond, MS. Rodriguez's assistant burst in. Turn on Channel 7. Patricia Walker is making a statement. We crowded around the office TV. There she stood, outside the courthouse, her designer outfit slightly wrinkled, her perfect mask finally showing cracks. These accusations are absurd, she declared to the reporters. I am the victim here. These vengeful women, led by my former daughter-in-law, are trying to destroy my family's reputation out of spite. Really, I muttered, pulling out my phone. Let's see how that plays. I pressed send on the email I'd been saving, the one containing videos of every threat, every manipulation, every cruel moment. Patricia thought no one was watching. Within minutes, they started appearing on every news site. Mrs. Walker, a reporter, called out. Can you explain this footage of you threatening Sarah Roberts at her wedding? Patricia's face went pale. Another reporter jumped in. What about these bank records showing systematic fraud? No comment. Patricia tried to retreat, but the damage was done. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Michael, but different from his usual pleading. How could you do this to us? To me? I loved you. I typed back one final response. No, Michael. You loved the idea of me. Someone you could control, as your mother controlled you. But I'm not that person anymore. MS. Roberts, MS. Rodriguez called my attention back. The DA wants to meet. They're offering Patricia a deal, but they want statements from all her victims first. I looked around the room at the women who had become my strength: Jenny, Claire, Rebecca, and Amy. Each of us had suffered under Patricia's schemes, but together we had found the courage to fight back. Tell them we're ready, I said. All of us. The next day, we walked into the DA's office together, a united front of women Patricia had tried to break. But we weren't victims anymore. We were survivors, witnesses, and the ones who would finally bring her to justice. As we gave our statements, I couldn't help but think about that wedding day that seemed so long ago now. Patricia had thought she was ruining my life. Instead, she had given me the strength to find my voice and the allies to make it heard. The headlines that evening said it all: Walker family matriarch faces federal charges, decades of fraud exposed. Justice wasn't just coming. It was here. 1 year later, I stood in my new office, watching the sunrise over the city skyline. The wall-mounted TV quietly played the morning news, where Patricia's sentencing was still making headlines. 15 years, Jenny remarked, bringing in our morning coffee, plus full restitution to all the families she defrauded. Not bad for a woman who thought she was untouchable. I smiled, picking up the framed newspaper article on my desk. Walker family fraud: how one bride's stand exposed decades of corruption. Below it sat a group photo of all of us: me, Jenny, Claire, Rebecca, and Amy, taken right after the verdict. Have you seen Michael's email? Jenny asked cautiously. I nodded. His last attempt at contact had come yesterday. I'm sorry for everything. I see now what she made me become. Maybe someday. I'd left it unanswered. Some bridges weren't meant to be rebuilt. My phone chimed with a message from Claire. Turn on Channel 7. They're doing a special report on financial fraud prevention. Guess who they interviewed? I switched channels just in time to see myself on screen, speaking at a victims advocacy conference. The most dangerous predators don't look dangerous. They wear designer clothes and host charity galas. But we're here to say no more. Look at you, Jenny grinned. From banker to fraud investigator to public speaker. Patricia would hate it. That's not why I do it, I said, but I couldn't help smiling. Though it is a nice bonus. My new office door had my name and title: Sarah Roberts, Director of Financial Crime Prevention. After everything came out, several major banks approached me to help develop better fraud detection systems. Turned out that my experience with Patricia had given me unique insights. Rebecca's case helped another victim come forward yesterday, Jenny mentioned, checking her phone. That support group you started is making a difference. I looked at the photos on my wall, not just of our legal victory, but of the lives we'd rebuilt. Claire had opened her own business. Rebecca was writing a book. Amy had reconciled with her sister, who was finally getting the therapy she needed after years of Patricia's manipulation. Sometimes I think about that wedding day, I admitted. How I thought everything was falling apart, when really it was falling into place. Jenny finished. Though I still say we should have kept that cake you paid for. We laughed, and I felt that familiar warmth of gratitude for everything I'd gained by losing what I thought I wanted. My assistant knocked on the door. MS? Roberts? The FBI task force is ready for your presentation on identifying familial fraud patterns. Be right there. I gathered my materials, pausing to straighten a small frame on my desk. It held a simple quote: sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the day that changes everything for the better. As I walked to the conference room, my phone lit up with messages from our support group members, women who'd found their voice, their strength, and their way back to themselves. Patricia had wanted to destroy me that day at my wedding. Instead, she'd helped me find my purpose. And while she sat in her prison cell, I was here, turning her cruelty into something positive, something helpful, something real. I'd lost a wedding but gained a mission. Lost a husband but found my strength. And most importantly, I'd learned that sometimes the happy ending isn't the one you planned, it's the one you fight for. The story that began with a broken heart led to a life I never could have imagined. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's living your best life despite those who tried to break you. And that's exactly what I intended to keep doing. One day at a time. The end.